tramway is currently taking a sabbatical, but it's business as usual as we continue our look at the small world of die-cast Land Rovers. In support of the videos, we also have a website which is packed with useful information. Why not join our brand new Facebook group where we discuss all things to do with the small world of die-cast Land Rovers. In the previous series, we were looking at the Range Rover 4.6 HSE models produced by Cararama in 1/72 scale. And we're going to round out our whole look at products from the company in this scale with the Range Rover 2003. Now, as you can see, the 2003 model has a range of just plain road-going vehicles, and then there's 4 with decals of various authorities. One's the RLNI, Spanish Police, Italian Guardia Costiera, and the bottom one is the French Medics. Now, as we did with the previous series, we'll start with the plain-bodied vehicles and then move on to the more hard to find ones later. We'll start with the green. Right, first of all, what are the differences in these models? The common things that you're likely to find that vary from model to model that you may pick up. First thing, the wheels are all standard. The Type J, they haven't changed throughout the production run, not that we've been able to tell. Number plates tend to stay the same in the plain versions, but once you get to the deckled ones, then there is some variation amongst those models, but we'll cover them when we come to them. As with the previous models we reviewed, the main changes come with the interior, which revolve around beige interior, beige dashboard, beige interior, dark grey dashboard, or dark grey interior, or sometimes labelled as black interior. An unusual thing on these is the sun strips. Now, these had me confused for quite a while, and if we can get a close-up of one, that should be there. Right, there's your sun strip. Now, this vehicle doesn't appear to have much of a sun strip in it, but it is listed as a solid sun strip. Now, let's go to this one. Right, as you can see, this one is a lot thicker, but it is also listed as a solid sun strip. So you can have the two types. There's a somewhat narrower one, or there's this thick version. Now, there is one where you can see here, we don't have one in this particular colour, is a graded sun strip. Now, the graded sun strip is distinguishable by the fact that it's usually about as thick as this, but this bottom layer, instead of being solid, it's being represented with just dots of colour, so it seems to gently fade out. I would imagine it was quite a time-consuming process to do it, and hence I think it only appeared on the early models, and they reverted to this more solid one, or even the smaller one that you saw previously. So, sun strips. I'll remind you as we go along. Painted rear lights. Now, on these, they are picked out. So, pretty crudely, but they are picked out to the rear. Now, there are some where this whole area is just plain body colour. And these seem to have coincided with the graded sun strip. So that's something else to look out for. Say you were buying a model and you've only got this side view, like so, and you couldn't distinguish what the top of the windscreen looked like. If this area here is body colour, then it's a pretty good assumption that it is one of the graded sun strip ones. Right, let's move back and we'll take a look at what other differences. The name on the base, sometimes they're hung well, sometimes they're just blanked out where there's no name, or shoe coat in some cases. And you can also get a painted or an unpainted exhaust. So they're the main differences to look out on these models. And we'll go to these green ones. So the first one in the green, there were two shades of green. There's the dark green and then there's a metallic green. So we'll start with the dark green first. This is the first vehicle we've got, so it's got a dark green body. Registration number is VTS 945. It has a beige interior with a dark grey dashboard, solid sun strip, painted rear lights, hung well on the base, unpainted exhaust. So as we saw in the introduction, this particular model has the smaller of the two sun strip, which really you could say that's just the rubber trim around the windows, but it is listed as being a sun strip for some bizarre reason. Right, let's move along. As we know, the wheels are all standard. This one has got the painted rear lights. Sometimes the windows can be misaligned on some of these models, so it's always worth checking the one you've got. Range Rover picked out in white as per on most of these, and the base there is a base very similar to the one we saw in the previous model. This one is a screw fix, hung well with the exhaust running along and then out at the bottom. Now this base looks to be virtually exactly the same as the one on the 4.6 versions, but these do tend to benefit from having painted exhaust elements on them, but not on this particular one. Right, also in this green we've got the second version, and it's same colour, same registration, beige interior, dark grey dashboard, solid sun strip, but this one is a lot wider, and it also has painted rear lights, and there's no name on the base, so we should be able to pick that up here. It's blanked out. And there's a further out shot. As you can see, the exhaust has been painted. Now, this one came without packaging, so we don't know if it was in possibly a shoe coat box and they just didn't bother covering over the, putting the word shoe coat on. So it is possible it could have come as a shoe coat version, but I've not managed to find another one since, so until we do, we won't know that point. There's one more out there which features, it's exactly the same colour, number plate, interior. It's the graded sunstrip version. Now it's easily recognisable because the lights at the rear are not painted. We're not quite sure what's on the base, and it does have a painted exhaust. Now something tells me this was the first version. It's just a feeling. Then I think this one is the second, and possibly that one is the third. Why do I think that? I'm not really sure. It's just what we've learned with these models. They tended to simplify wherever they could to cut costs, perhaps. The only surprising thing is that there's no beige interior, beige dashboard combination come to light as of yet. So we keep looking, but not seeing one as of yet. Here we have the metallic green version, and the wheels, as per all the others in this series, as I say, the wheels don't change. The body colour is down as metallic green. Now, just a word of caution. When you're viewing these on auction websites or wherever you want to buy them, the metallic green and the green look very similar when photographed. You can tell there is a difference when you look at them in the flesh, but just be wary. It's quite easy to get fooled thinking you're buying a plain green one when in fact it could be a metallic green version. The number plates are standard throughout all these green ones, VTS 945. This particular one has beige interior, dark grey dashboard. It shows as having a solid sun strip, but when we look at the model, it's only just classes as a sun strip. It's the way the listings, they seem to be referred to as having a solid sun strip, when to me there's no sun strip there at all, but however that's the way things are. So it's the smaller of the two sun strips on this particular version. What else is there? Same at the rear, painted rear lights, etc. And if we just go back, no Range Rover on the back edge. That's interesting. Just spotted that. The base, painted exhaust, over stamped as it were, so there's no Hongwell displayed. And this particular one came in a Hongwell Range Rover box. Now the problem with this is that these models often find their way onto model railways or dioramas, and can often be on display in a cabinet or even played with. So there's no guarantee that this model has gone back into the correct box. Now, if you were going to the trouble to have Hongwell and Range Rover on the box, why would you cover up the fact on the base of the model? Unless these were made for somebody else who were intended to go, and the main places we've found this has been Schuco. Now, Schuco have had the word stamped on some of the models, but whether this was just a quick stopgap to allow them to supply what they had in stock to fulfill the Schuco order, and then they would be put in a Schuco branded box and outer sleeve, etc. So it seems odd that they've gone to the trouble to overstamp them. So for some reason, these were intended for a different customer. So we can't take it as gospel that this is the correct box for this model. Right, so we've done with that one. There is one other. It is pretty much the same model with the exception of it's a beige interior and a beige dashboard. So no grey dashboard in this one. That's what we think anyway. We've put it as solid sun strip. We don't see any reason why it wouldn't be, but as to whether it be a large or small version, we don't know. We think it's got painted rear lights. No idea what's on the base, and it should have a painted exhaust. So it's well worth keeping an eye out for this one. It covers the green versions. So let's scroll back to the top of the page and return to our 2003 menu. Second up is the blue. Now this one comes in metallic dark blue and just plain metallic blue. This is one that turns up in the bubble pack arrangement, and we'll take a look around. A bit of a blurry front end picture there, but it's the usual registration number, unpainted rear lights. So there's no painting on the rear lights on this model. Quite helpfully they've put made in China right over where we want to be viewing, but it has a painted exhaust, it's quite plain to see, and it appears to have the screw fix type base. And there's a look at the top of the model. So like we've just said, it's got a beige interior, dark grey dashboard, graduated sun strip. Now this is one that will have the graduation on it that I talked about early on. Unpainted rear lights, as we've said, hung well on the base, painted exhaust, card mounted screw fix type. Now there is another one out there which has the same number plate, same colour scheme for the interior, and shows as a solid sun strip, painted rear light, shoe coat on the base and an unpainted exhaust. Now there's strong evidence this one is out there in this arrangement. These blue ones not as common as the green, certainly. They are hard to find, and so that's one we're still looking out for, but it's one that you may have in your collection. There's a third version of this. It features the same number plate, beige interior, dark grey dashboard, solid sun strip, painted rear lights, hung well on base and unpainted exhaust. So we'll just have a look at there. It's a small solid sun strip. Quite noticeable the metallic paintwork on this one. Range Rover on the front of the bonnet. Let's just have a look around the rear. Range Rover wording to the rear, painted lights as we've said. Metallic blue. It's a lot lighter blue is this one. Very hard to find. Seen pictures of it, but not seen one in the flesh as it were. It's quite noticeable how different the two blues are. Number plate is the same as the previous. Beige interior, dark grey dashboard, a solid sun strip, large or small, unknown. It has painted rear lights, hung well on the base, and a painted exhaust. And good luck if you can find one. Right, that's the blues, so let's return So now we've returned to the 2003 menu. We're up to about 20 minutes on this one, so we'll leave it at that. In the next one, we'll continue our look at these plain body coloured vehicles with the metallic red, the cherry red, white and metallic silver. So why don't you join us? Until then, stay safe, happy collecting.